So I'm just super excited to talk about this album in general. Vince Staples is one of my favorite artists. I saw him way back in the day, the summertime '06 era, and it was a great concert, super small show, and I was like second or third row. I was just in, spitting distance. It was super cool to see him now that he's gone so far with his career. But Vince Staples by Vince Staples is his it's being marketed as the third full-length album, but we're going to go ahead and talk about his past and how Vince Staples has come about as an artist. So, hailing from Long Beach, California, he began his career collaborating with Odd Future members Earl Sweatshirt and Mike G, and this was in 2010. So, Vince had not really decided to become someone involved with music, but was sort of dabbling with his friends at the time, other Los Angeles area guys that were creating music. And yeah, after Odd Future blew up in 2011, it was sort of a long road for Vince to also get signed and, backing by a major label, but he was able to do so in just a couple years. In late 2013 and early 2014, he signed to Def Jam Records after being featured extensively on Earl Sweatshirt's album Doris. And after he signed to Def Jam, he released Hell Can Wait, and that was an EP with a ton of really great features on it. It's a pretty good listen through from 2014, so it's dated now, but his debut album wouldn't come out until the following year, summertime '06, and that was released to critical acclaim, and it was followed up by the Prima Donna EP and Big Fish Theory album each following year. And then Big Fish was actually critically acclaimed by fans and critics. I mean, it's a pretty different vibe from his debut, but people like to see the versatility in Vince, and that continued with his next album, FM, which was released at the end of 2018. And it introduced a new collaborator, which was Kenny Beats, who did a ton of the production on FM. And in 2019, he only released 3 singles, and they were coming out alongside the Vince Staples Show YouTube series. And I was really enjoying those and hoping that he would do a Vince Staples Show album, but now we're getting the self-titled Vince Staples album in 2021 after relative silence in 2020. So, yeah, what's your guys' background with Vince Staples? Have you been listening long? Which of these projects had you really tuned into before?
So for me, I remember my real introduction to Vince was those features on the Doris album. And the first like project of his that I had listened to was I remember I think I was like the Portland airport and I was listening to Summertime '06 when I was like visiting my aunt. And yeah, I remember that was a really cool experience just sitting there hanging out on my headphones listening to that. And over the years, that's really become like a really important album to me and one of my favorites. I think it's one of the best double albums, especially that's been dropped in the last like couple decades. And Prima Donna, I didn't listen to as much. Big Fish, but like I've gotten into Prima Donna more over the years. There's a lot of good tracks on there. And Big Fish, I was also a really big fan of. He went into like a lot more of an EDM direction in like the production with that. And yeah, after that, FM coming out, that was really cool how incorporated all the different like radio interludes between there and
Specifically, Big Boy's Neighborhood, an LA-based radio station.
yeah, had the whole Power 106 thing with that album. So I thought that was really cool. And then I've been missing him a lot over the last few years because he only had FM, which is like a half hour, and then the singles that were coming out over the last couple years, he had been pretty inactive other than that. So, and he's one of my favorite like social media personalities, especially among rappers. So I've like kept up with him, always been a huge fan. And I've been really waiting for some new music, and I've been really appreciative that we've got it back going on now.
Yeah, he's wilding on Twitter. If you ever read his stuff, it's insane. But I would definitely suggest the follow just because it is funny antics. But Roger, what's your background with Vince Staples?
So I started listening to Vince Staples probably at a time in my life where like I wasn't as invested in music as I am now. Like back then, I just threw stuff on a playlist. I added songs that I liked that I heard on the radio, and that was pretty much the extent of how it all went down for me. But my first introduction to Vince Staples was probably summertime '06. I remember adding this song, "Like It Is" to my playlist. That was like one that I really,
Hmm.
really listened to. I vibe with that one a lot.
I
And like
love
songs
that
like
song.
"Senorita" or "North North," songs like that. But honestly, I haven't explored a whole ton of his catalog. He's another one of those obscure artists to me. Like I just haven't taken the time to invest in his music. But I think I might have to. I really enjoyed his features on the Dreamville stuff. I've heard just singles here and there like Bag Bach and things like that. But yeah, I need to get more on the Vince train because you guys seem to really like him, and I mean you guys have good taste in music, so no doubt about that.
Well, we appreciate
Yeah,
that. I mean, I
appreciate it,
don't think
man.
you would think anything different if we were doing a podcast together, right?
Debatable.
Yeah, the
Could make for
interesting
good
arguments.
conversation.
Yeah, right.
Need a little contrarian energy every once in a while, you know.
Once
Can't
we
always
get
be
once we
agreeing.
get guests, we'll definitely get some contrarians in
Hmm.
here that don't agree with our takes, and I'll be excited but also terrified for that day to come. But Vince Staples was signed on Def Jam through the Artium imprint, which is actually no IDs. And I'm not exactly sure if Logic also had his music released under the same imprint, but you can see that Vince's projects from Hell Can Wait all the way up until FM were all released under Def Jam with the Artium imprint on there as well. And so the Vince Staples album, maybe that's why we had some relative silence from him over 2020, is on a new record label under Motown or Universal, who owns them, is doing the distributing. But this album was exclusively produced by Kenny Beats. And he's another social media personality, and he does a lot of Twitch live streams, like really putting people on into the music and explaining sort of the method to his madness a bit with production and things. And I thought that Kenny Beats overall in this project was a good addition because he let Vince sort of take the baton and be the lead in most tracks, where his production was definitely a really good addition, but it was sort of in the background from my listen throughs of this album. But really bass heavy music, not quite the West Coast hip hop that you're used to, and I think that alone should warrant a listen of the album.